The old Iron Age hill fort at Bailliehill Mount stands out from the surrounding countryside. Below it lies the farm of Kilmaurs. There used to be 2 or 3 Bronze Age burial mounds in the area as well. They've been ploughed out now. So this area has seen occupation for many millennia. The hill also seems to be known locally as the Bailliehill, or in old church charters as Burra or even Burra Hill. So the original name's not clear. Been some suggestions that the hill at one time was a moot hill or a court hill where justice, the courts, used to meet. This is Bailliehill Mount, sometimes known as Wood Hill. This is the site of an Iron Age hill fort. It lies between Knockentibber and Kilmaurs, and down below us it's a very steep slope, and there's the Carmel water. So this side is very strongly defended naturally. There are a number of lumps and bumps and other shapes of the ground here that possibly were defence works, but of such an age it's very hard to be sure. There's a fairly clear bank here. These earth mounds and ditches seem to be the main fort itself. Certainly it's described in the various books as being most obviously the remnants are on the northeast side of Bailliehill. Certainly very good views from the top of Bailliehill Mount. A whole series of ditches and mounds curving round the top of the mount. In the Iron Age, these mounds would have been topped by fences or palisades. So the raised mounds would give extra height to that, and the ditches would lower the ground to make the palisades seem higher still. Very overgrown here, so it's very hard to make out the plan of the fort. This outer mound here is by far the most substantial. Still has a fair height. The circular mounds further in, the rings, are much lower. This is the southeast side. There's still these raised mounds coming down with a high defensive bank facing down to the south where the steep hill starts. This is the outer bank on the southeast side. Now it could be that this is actually a Victorian or maybe slightly earlier feature forming a roundel on top of the hill, which you frequently get, and they effectively are to keep cattle out of an area which has been planted, maybe as a fox covert or for other game. But by eye you can't date these. Some of the ditches and banks within the old Iron Age fort, it's been suggested that these may be rig and furrow, that is a method of farming technique, and that the ditch, a double ditch, may exist towards the northeast. Close to the Iron Age fort was an old quarry called Wood Hill, and that's famous for having anything up to 8 tusks from mammoths were found within the quarry. There's also an old road that leads up towards the hill itself. And there's one interesting area, it's called the Wyn Gore. Gore means a narrow gully, like a gutter, and Wyn is referring to Wynstone, so there's a Wynstone dike running through.